Hello, this video is for people who are thinking of writing or perhaps updating your will, and you have a vulnerable or a disabled person in your life and you're worried about how to cater and provide for them if you were to pass away before them. Vulnerabilities could come in a number of ways. They might be having issues, memory issues, dementia. They might be needing ongoing care. They might need help on a day-to-day basis. They might be susceptible to harm by third parties if you weren't there to look after them. They might just be reliant on others on a day-to-day basis, and they just might not, you feel that they might not be able to deal with any inheritance that you might be able to give to them if you were to pass away first. So these are all kind of things to think about. If you are in that situation, pop by for an initial meeting where we can really explore what the extent of the vulnerability is. We are specialists in later life financial planning, which means we have in-depth local knowledge about the cost of care, care funding options, and it's really important to perhaps do the maths to work out how much fund or money or assets that person might need if you were to pass away before them. So we kind of need to go through that financial planning exercise, and that's why it's useful that we are financial planners and legal planners. We can take you through the potential state benefits. Are they due continuing health care? Go through the family support network, the family dynamics, what kind of family payments are being made currently to the carer, if that's a family member. And what, do they need this level of will protection? Are they vulnerable enough? Can we just do a simple will? So every situation is completely different. Every individual is different. Every financial dynamic is different, obviously. So this is where it's really important to come in face to face and have that kind of in-depth chat about your worries and your issues and about your circumstances, and we can kind of start to explore potential solutions. Because remember, as we're financial planners as well, we can start looking at lifetime solutions, lifetime trusts, if that's appropriate. But if we're talking about wills and setting up a will for after you've passed away, how we provide for that person, the main solution is setting up a trust through the will, so that instead of the assets passing direct to this vulnerable person, where perhaps they just don't have the ability, the capability, or they might be vulnerable enough to be susceptible to harm from third parties. So instead of sending that assets and money direct to that person, which could be a disaster, let's face it, we send those assets, send that inheritance into a trust fund, which can then be managed by a third party on their behalf. There's basically two types of trust. A discretionary trust, which is a standard discretionary trust. The advantage of a discretionary trust is that it gives the third party complete flexibility on who benefits and when. They basically manage that trust fund, and it's not specifically for the disabled person, so it gives that extra flexibility, which can obviously have its advantages because life changes and different things happen. And so there's a great deal of flexibility around a discretionary trust. There's tax to think about, so there are potentially ongoing tax charges as a result of a discretionary trust. So it just depends on how much assets we're talking about, whether it's going over certain thresholds, and we can kind of have that discussion. The other type of trust is an out-and-out disabled discretionary trust, which is very similar to a discretionary trust. It's just that the trust fund is set up specifically for that disabled and vulnerable person. So the person that's managing that trust fund is specifically managing the money for the disabled person. They're allocating the funds as and when for that disabled person, for that vulnerable person. And the main advantage of an out-and-out discretionary disabled discretionary trust is the tax advantages. So there's no ongoing tax, there's no ongoing inheritance tax problems, and so that is the main advantage really of the disabled trust. We apply for the disabled trust on death through the will, so if you don't, or that person doesn't qualify for a disabled discretionary trust, which basically is, do they qualify for state benefits? It's a little bit more nuanced than that, but if they don't qualify, it just becomes a normal discretionary trust fund, which is managed on their behalf. One of the most important nominations is the trustee, which is the person that's going to be managing that trust fund for that disabled or vulnerable person. Obviously, it needs to be someone that you completely trust, who's got the capability and technical knowledge to, to run that trust, to manage the money, to run the trust tax potentially if it's a discretionary trust, to register the trust fund. There's various requirements to running a trust fund. Typically, we would support the trustee on all of those requirements, but also you could use a local professional to do it. And the other requirement really is a letter of wishes alongside the trust fund, which is written by you, which basically lets the trustees know, gives them guidance about how you want the trust fund managed, how you want it to be run, who you want to benefit from the trust fund and in which ways. So it's important that you do, and we can guide you with this, but important that you write out a letter of wishes alongside these trust funds, just to give those trustees direction on how to manage the trust. Really important that you're taking joined up legal and financial planning advice here. As I said, we are specialists in financial planning in later life, so we have good experience about managing money on behalf of later life clients who are potentially in need of care and that kind of thing, the cost of that, how to manage it, the care funding options. But also we are able to set up these trust funds on behalf of clients who are in need of a trust fund being managed by a third party. As I said, this is a very individual thing, so I would urge you to come in with the family to have those initial discussions, to go through your worries and your issues. Let's go through the extent of the vulnerability of the people that we're talking about, and we can kind of take the solutions from there really. I'm doing some estate planning events later in the month which will talk about some of these issues. If you do go onto the Harold Stevens website, you'll get details of these events and details on how to book as well. So recommend that you, if these sorts of things are of interest, I recommend that you come along. They tend to be very popular and book out, so I would definitely book ASAP if you want to come along, and hope to see you there. If not, just give us a call in the office and we'll see you direct. Okay, thanks for joining. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.